now for our next presentation, which is Koha for Nothing and Your Mark for Free from Fred Kane and the Avenging Chicken.
Good afternoon. Actually, I should have asked this before. Can you see me now? Because right now I see 4 people, 2 of whom are, oh, okay. Let's see. Okay, this isn't off to an auspicious start, but never mind. Good afternoon, or as you say in the West Coast, good morning. I am coming to you live from beautiful campsite 30 and the Spruce Knob Lake Campground in West Virginia, along with the breezes and the owls and the crows and everything. And I'm happy to be here. Actually, this is just a screen. I'm in my basement. So what I'm going to do today is, apart from cough, this is just asthma. My pulse oximeter says I'm saturating 97%. I use my albuterol inhaler. But what I'm going to do today is talk to you about, well, let me start the slideshow and you'll see. First of all, start out, I am Fred King, medical librarian at Washington Hospital Center. The Avenging Chicken is the Avenging Chicken. I should note that I am using the Washington Hospital Center template because I was asked to by the vice president in charge of graduate medical education and in charge of being much more important than I am. It's part of corporate branding. I should probably include the disclaimer that I'm not expressing their opinions, just mine and maybe those of the chicken. And I like my boss and my boss's boss, and I'd like to keep my job. Okay, start out with an obligatory cat photo. And this is another in my series of taking Koha to places where it really wasn't intended to go. See, I installed Koha by myself in 2013 using version 3.12, and doing it myself forced me to become a lot more creative than I really am. So I came up with the MedStar Authors Catalog, which takes medical citation, medical journal citation from Medline, from the National Library of Medicine, converts it into MARC, and now it's online free, medstarauthors.org. Last year, I demonstrated how you can install Koha on a Raspberry Pi. And today, Koha for nothing and your MARC for free. So what is this? Well, I'm aiming it for libraries without access to OCLC, with no money and lots of time and a knack for computers, which brings it down to 1 or 2. But this is more of an interesting idea. What I'm hoping you're going to have for this project is a computer, a monitor, a keyboard, an active network connection, and if you can persuade the librarian of the lake to reach out and hand you a barcode scanner, that would be great. I sure hope people are laughing at this because I went to an awful lot of trouble to set up this joke. And we're off. You start with installing Ubuntu, then you install and configure Koha, obtaining MARC records, and then uploading those to Koha. I'm not going to include how to install Ubuntu. There are lots of sites that tell you how to do that. Just download it and burn it to a DVD, boot from that, do what it says. What I'm going to do here is show you very quickly Koha on Ubuntu packages. These are the instructions at the Koha Community Wiki. And I am basically following this line by line. And this is a video. It shows you kind of speed it up, actually 4 times. So only take a few minutes. You see, a lot of what you're going to do is a little typing, and a lot of watching the screen do stuff. I'm updating and upgrading. And now I'm installing the koha software. And again, nothing happens for a while because it's installing, gets 99%. Then you'll have to go into koha sites, tell it where to listen, just follow the instructions. This is where it gets a little tricky. First of all, I misspelled it. Second of all, it's saying this depends on something else. So you have to install something else, which also depends on something else. But again, it tells you what it can't install, and a lot of time you can just install it. I mean, I'm a community college dropout. If I can do it, you can do it. Now I'm creating the library, which I'm calling library, and doing a little tweaking. Just follow the instructions. Then you have to tell the web server to listen at when you added a while back. And one thing that's not in the instructions, which I should add, change 000 default to something else, because otherwise it's going to cause trouble. This is how you get your login password. As you can see, I made a mistake and put a semicolon instead of a single quote. And that is your password. It's very tricky. You have to do it exactly. Okay, now I'm going to my koha installation. It has an IP address, but nothing more. And this is going a little slower than the first one. But the rest of it you can do via web. And again, most of this is clicking on the blue button to continue to the next step. I know this is fast, but truly it's not that difficult. I learned by just installing it until I got it right. Little basic, select MARC flavor, set up some frameworks. Mostly I don't need them because I don't know what kind of library I'm working on yet. I am installing some Z3950 servers. Then import. Everything's imported. We have to set up a library branch. I'm calling this one a library. A category code for people. I'm calling this staff. And you have to put in a super librarian. I'm calling the person the librarian. Username is librarian. Notice Firefox doesn't like it. We can take care of that later. Needs an item type, default. I'm calling it book. And all of this you can change later by going to the administration screen, which I'm not going to do today. And there very quickly is a complete working setup of koha. All right, so how do you get the MARC records? Well, for this example, I'm going to use my library at work. It's a medical library in a teaching hospital, kind of library you might find in any presentation like this. I'm going to do several collections, circulating books, reference books, reserve collection, including on the right, the Advanced Cardiac Life Support System books, which are about 50 to 75% of our circulation. John J. Lynch Ethics Collection, and Popular Health Reading. This medical history, what did you read that made you want to go into the healthcare field? And remember how the librarian of the lake gave you a barcode scanner? Well, this is the easiest way to collect ISBNs. Just scan the back. This is not medical library. This is my cartoon book collection. Some mass market paperbacks do have barcodes, but they're not the ISBN. Though most libraries aren't going to bother with cataloging mass market paperbacks, so you probably won't have this problem. Some of them have the ISBN, but not the barcode. And of course, some of them don't have ISBNs at all. Okay, now we're going to use Z3950. What's Z3950? It's a thingy that lets you download catalog records. Supported by koha and MARC Edit. You find the server, configure it, add the information, on your way. Put in information, get a catalog record back sometimes. I'm only using ISBNs in this one. You can do a lot of other fields. So this is what happens when you go to the cataloging module and click on New from Z3950 SRU. You can put in the ISBN, ISSN, title, author. I've tried looking up titles. It can be very slow. And you notice I was looking in 4 libraries. Found the record in 2 libraries, Library of Congress and National Library of Medicine. I'm a medical librarian. I'd rather use the NLM record, though they're probably pretty much the same. So click that, click import, and this is a very small screen showing you the 0 field in the cataloging editor. Okay, that's great, but there's just one. If only there were a faster way. Well, this is where MARC Edit comes in. You can get it at marcedit.reest.net. Earlier today, PowerPoint and probably Outlook and probably anything else is going to try to change that to reset.net. It's a free cataloging utility, and it is absolutely amazing. What does it do? I won't say it does everything, but it does an awful lot. Some of you may have seen these slides before, where I compare this to a Swiss Army knife, and it's got 3 blades that I've used. Well, actually, it has a few more blades as I keep going along and learning. No, it has an awful lot of different blades and screwdriver and a meat tenderizer and a wok and a chicken. And I'm only going to be showing a few of them today. And don't ask me about the others because I don't understand them. But if you go to the main MARC Edit screen, you have the option for Z3950. And this is what it looks like. You put in the ISBN. You can also add other fields. You search for one record. But notice you can do a batch search. And you can select various databases. Right now I'm just doing NLM, but you can also add multiple databases. And you can also add new ones. Go to Actions, add Server, type in the names. Okay, here I'm doing a batch search. And I'm doing our reference books by ISBN. Another little video. No, wait a minute. Pardon me. I created a very small collection called Sample. And I already made it, so I'm overwriting it. This is Searching National Library of Medicine. Some it's finding, some it isn't. You scroll up, you can see which ones it found, but more important for this project, you can see what it didn't find. You copy those and put them into another file. Okay, I searched eventually 11 libraries, National Library of Medicine first. Then I wanted to find the universities with well-known and respected nursing and medical schools. So Duke, UW, NYU, Chapel Hill, Maryland, Baltimore. And then slightly wider, Library of Congress, New York Public, Boston, which didn't work, so I stopped using it. University of Florida, Seattle Public, University of Pennsylvania. By the way, Seattle Public is a really good source. And this is where it's going to get a little confusing. Because when I went through the other A group, see, sometimes found nothing. So it kicked all those ISBNs into the report at the bottom. Here, it found 2. Oh, it didn't find 2 and found 3. So you have 2 not found. And over here, found 1, kicked 4 in. So here's your report with lots and lots and lots of duplicate ISBNs. Remember I said it was going to get complicated? Well, this is where the spreadsheet comes in. You see, you have to set up the ISBN, and it has to be text because otherwise it's going to ignore the leading zeros. You put in a formula called COUNTIF, which says how many times was this counted, or how many times does this appear in the left column. Okay, the first one appears 4 times, then we have some that appear twice. So you can sort that on number of duplications, largest to smallest. And then I had 5 libraries, so if it was not found by every single one of those, figured, okay, have to go into group B. So I paste that into the column of unique numbers. By the way, notice some shows 6. I think that's because there were 3, but in there twice. And then I thought I had my phone turned off, sorry. Excel will remove duplicates. So it found 122. Now remember when it was creating files or doing Z3950, it was putting results into a file called whatever you want .mrc. That's the encrypted file that koha can understand, but we can't. Back to MARC edit and use MARC breaker, turn it from MRC into MRK, which is basically a text file. And that's what it looks like. Now, I put all of these together in one file, all the reference books from NLM, A, and B. I did field count to see how many records I had. 2,197. MARC edit can also deduplicate your records. Choose deduplicate by ISBN since that's what I searched on. First record, well, National Library of Medicine records were first, so I want to keep the first. And it cut out the duplicates, about 1,070. One more thing I want to do and show you is add delete field. koha really wants to have 942, which is subfield 2 is the cataloging system you're using. And subfield C is the default item type. So I'm using National Library of Medicine and reference. Then you can compile it back into machine readable, koha readable language. Go back to koha and tools, stage MARC records for import, upload. Found 1,070, and they're all good records. Import. And I have 1,070 new catalog records. Now, of course, comes the boring part. You have to go through, add a barcode, add item record, etc. Okay, well, yes, but does this work? So here's what I found. For my circulating collection, I had 3,758 total ISBNs, which I found 3,855, 94%. Lynch collection is 90%. Popular Health 70, Reference 85, Reserve 57. Reserve is very low, and that doesn't really surprise me because we have a lot of things that are held by 1 or 2 libraries. And I'll get to that in a moment. And if John Sturbins is listening, he's probably turning a light puce because none of these numbers are going to add up. Yes, I know. This is just approximate. Sorry, John. Some things that I didn't find: close calls and improved patient safety. I chose these at random, tried to make them as random as possible. Lynch, Innovations in End-of-Life Care, Marianne Liebert, 2000. I was surprised that the book by Eleanor Clift and her husband's death wasn't found. Popular, okay, Under the Knife, Interesting History of Surgery. Could be because it was originally published in Dutch. Identity Theft, I picked up last year at ALA when they had their convention in DC. Probably hasn't gotten a lot of places. Reference, Health Informatics, CPT coding. Okay. Reserve, this is where it gets really thin. Adult Critical Care Registered Nurse Review, Maternal Newborn Nursing Exam Secrets, published by Mometrix Test Preparation. This is one of the ones where maybe 5, 3, 1 library have it. So here I come to my second library. Earlier this year, koha-US was approached by a librarian at the Eswatini College of Technology. If you haven't heard of Eswatini, you may have heard of Swaziland. They changed the name officially in 2018, and a lot of things haven't changed over yet. It's a landlocked country bordered by South Africa, Mozambique, and the College of Technology is located in Mbabane. They have books, they have a network connection, absolutely no money. Actually, that's where I got this idea, sort of. They do have a spreadsheet. And not all of the books in the spreadsheet have ISBNs, and not all of the ISBNs are actually valid. But total books, 2,851, from which I found 701. Again, some of them didn't have ISBNs, either because they're old. I can, through glancing at the comments, yes, older books don't have those. Or some of them are government reports that don't necessarily need one or have one. Since Swaziland is a former British colony, I looked in the British Library. And then others, I can't remember. So out of the ISBNs I found 64%. Fiction, 42%. A lot of it's mass market paperback, I believe. Did a little better on reference, 67%. And finally, my own library. I started cataloging my collection in 1991, sort of because I wanted to keep whatever cataloging skills I had, because I knew that 25 years later, I would become the cataloging department at Washington Hospital Center. Not really. But mainly, I wanted to keep track of what cartoon books I have, so I wouldn't keep buying duplicates. So far, I've cataloged over 1,200 of those. And I didn't do really well. Biography, 44%. Books in the C&O Canal don't get cataloged all that much, at least not in these collections. I need to find some place with a Z3950 server that has a really great cartoon book collection. Fiction, 33%, and notice at the bottom, science fiction, 15%. I think that is mostly because I have a lot of mass market paperbacks from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Those generally don't get cataloged, and if they were in a non-private collection, they'd probably would have been read to shreds by now. So does it work? Sort of. Obviously, it doesn't work with older books without an ISBN, though you can go by title. It's very time consuming, though it is faster than typing each one by hand. I haven't spent anything on this yet, except for computer and other stuff, which I'd have anyway, and the electricity needed to run it. Need somewhere to find the records that weren't found. Different Z3950, try by name. See, I've tried searching by Library of Congress card number. I've had really mixed results. You have to barcode everything. Records work a lot better in Koha if they have a 952 item field. There are ways you can get around that. So I wouldn't recommend this for, let's say, an academic library with 100,000 books. A medical library with maybe 400 books, it might be worth a try. And from my beautiful basement in Silver Spring, Maryland, that's all. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm back. Any questions?
Let's see. It looks like there was some discussion about ISBNs in the chat. One commenter said this is where OCLC is handy to search for records.
Yeah, but OCLC wants something. What's it called? Money.
Elaine said, at what point do you decide it's easier to just catalog something instead of trying to find it?
I haven't gotten to that point yet because I was doing a lot of this last week. I noticed my green screen is back, sorry. I have to say a lot of the stuff in my library is in a spreadsheet. I would say if it really needs something like subject fields, or if there's something useful that you can't find easily, keep trying. Otherwise, I'll just give up. Depends on how complete you want your records to be. For fiction, I know they come with descriptions, 500 fields, 650s. I'm not sure if my library needs it. You have to decide for your library. Yeah. Now, Elaine, your library, you'd probably have to do a lot of original cataloging because I know your library and it's filled with things that no other place has. Same thing for you, Heather. But yes, someone says older books have ISBN on the title or verso page. Yep. And you have to type them in, but it is easier than doing original cataloging. Key. Lane oldest is 1651. Yeah, that probably wouldn't have an ISBN or an LC card number. So, oh good, Heather yes says, yep. I do a lot of original cataloging for Maritime Museum with manuscripts of sea shanties, yes. Ooh, Michelle Perry, Handbook on Hanging. Let's see, I've got a book on poisonous plants that I'm keeping away from my wife.
Also, if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see that people were indeed laughing at your joke.
Good.
That I hope somebody's laughing.
Actually,
we are
I
laughing, says
was
Spencer.
sort of hoping jokes, plural, but never mind.
Well, I mean, specifically at the beginning when you
Okay.
said, I hope people are laughing at this joke.
Yes.
There were some comments. Spencer said, oh, we are laughing. Heather says, Library of the Lake emoji.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with a green screen. I had to put it over my head and wrap it around my arm and sort of gasp when I was going to do the screenshot. I'm sure there are easier ways.
Well, in your green screen, it's not turned off. It sometimes turns part of your shirt into the campground. Like your left shoulder.
Yeah, I can see that.
See the campground through your shoulder.
Let's see. Let me see if I can change it to something else.
Let's see. Layla says, great presentation. Thank you. Heather liked the emoji face I made when I was trying to demonstrate what emoji they'd put in the chat. Lori says, Vancouver Public Library has some very good records.
Nope, doesn't look like I can change. By the way, Layla is my boss. She is more important than I am, but she's not the vice president in charge of being more important than I am. But I have wonderful bosses. And I'd say that even if she weren't listening in.
Or if you didn't know she was listening in.
Yes.
Okay. Well, unless anyone else has any questions for Fred, we might go to break just a little early and be back at 11:15 Pacific / is that 2:15?
Yes.
2:15 Eastern. I don't have my other tab up because I've got the Zoom and the YouTube to watch for comments. So, okay, I think we will wrap this one up for now, and we'll see you all back in about 25 minutes.
Bye.